This is indisputable, which I think started as a TYT show, but I honestly am not quite sure I remember correctly. But regardless, I've been watching indisputable clips a lot lately because it's always fun.
This Karen tried to cut my client in line at Target.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I want
and
the
back
police
up.
right here now.
And back up. And this is all on video.
All right. Even more. Let's.
This Karen tried to cut my client in line at Target.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I want
and
the
back
police
up.
right here now.
And back up.
Yes.
And this is all on video. Exactly, because you thought you were going to get in front of me.
Ha!
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not talking to me.
I am trying to make a return here. Like,
And that's exactly what I'm doing. So why you think you're so entitled? You thought you were going to come and stand in front of me and then I correct you about what you did. You thought you were going to come and get in my face. We're not doing that today.
Face.
You did get in my face. And I got it on video. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with
Nice.
me. I was here first. I
Oh
came the
my
correct
God.
way, like all customers should.
This is the best nonviolent self-defense I have ever seen. This technique of simply pulling out your cell phone, hitting record, and saying, like, all right, let's state what's happening right now. Let's take out the he said, she said as this goes on, and just let the camera record literally what's happening. That is genius. And I am so, you will always hear me talk positively about the progress of technology. Folks, once upon a time, the most serious threat facing us was that bear in that cave over there. And then Sam Colt took care of it. I mean, technology's amazing. And it allows for things like this. And creative use of it is fantastic. And it doesn't matter if it's a cop or a Karen in line at the store. This is a great way to defend yourself against a he said, she said. Like, all right, you know what? This is no different than a cop's body cam. I'm going to tuck that in the front pocket. Just so you know, we're on camera. Why don't we hash this out again? It's so good.
She jumped. I'm not talking to you. She jumped in front of me. And this young lady knows she came from this way. And then she said, well, I have a return. Ma'am, I'm already standing right here.
just get it over with.
Right.
She's giving up.
No,
Bye.
Yes, you did.
Bye-bye.
Now stop playing with me. For real. Last warning, lady. Last warning.
Oh.
Refund $31.59.
Okay.
For the record, my one critique, if you find yourself in a situation like this where it's getting kind of heated, don't say things like that. Don't say last warning. Last warning before what? Before you clock her in the face? No, you already won. She's already given up. Just take the W. But this lady, look, in the heat of the moment, it's real hard to be smooth. It's very hard. So credit to this lady. She nailed it.
You need my card?
Do you want it back on your debit card?
You can give it to me in cash.
Cash?
Yeah.
We're done. He reset that one. The one, yeah, I put the
You got the right one today.
Hell
You got the
yeah.
right one today. Let's go ahead and dissect what happened here. You see,
And another mustache aficionado. I always wondered who was the other person that ordered that magazine, and there we are.
in the beginning of the video, you clearly see the Karen in question with her hand very close to the individual who proclaims she was breaking in line. And then immediately afterwards, the Karen in question says, I want the police here right now. Wait a minute,
Jesus Christ.
the police?
I completely missed that part. Played the beginning of the clip twice, and I missed that part. That, by the way, folks, and MAGA, if you're joining or watching the VOD later, please give me your opinion on this as well. That, I feel, should be treated as a hate crime. Calling the police unnecessarily. Maybe not you know what? I have to muse on that. This is first thoughts. Bear in mind, I may well correct myself later and say I've changed my mind. Right now, I think that should be that. A hate crime. There are a lot of folks that know that the police treat black folks differently. And they use that in the shittiest, most cowardly, despicable way possible, which is to try to scare black people or just get them killed legally by forcing a confrontation with somebody armed. Can you imagine if the situation were reversed and black people weren't killed disproportionately by police officers, and in fact white people were killed disproportionately, and black folks were constantly calling the police on white people in an attempt to get them killed over things like not being allowed to cut in line. When you wonder where riots come from, it's that. I am amazed that we actually have never had a civil war that started with black folks arming up. I'm impressed as well. I'm impressed. And I don't think such a civil war would advance anybody's well-being. But I'm amazed it hasn't happened. Imagine being a black man in 1982, let's say, and experiencing the things daily that we now see happen all the time because cameras are ubiquitous. They're all over the place. If it's 1982, let's say you're 26 years old, and you look on the horizon, you don't see justice. And you look in the past and you see nothing but injustice. And you imagine, what is the rest of my life going to be like? Will I always feel terror when driving my car? Will I always be treated like a second-class citizen? I don't know how we've avoided it. That woman is much more despicable than I thought. And I was going to ask, why is this lady even putting this online? Because I was thinking, she won. She full-on won. All you have to do, you don't have to post the thing. You just have to do the recording as self-defense. And if it works, cool. That can be the end of it. You know, lady stopped cutting. Lady stopped being ridiculous. She was afraid to be on camera because she knew what she was doing. But now I see. That part is key. That she was threatening to call the cops, knowing damn well what the implications of that were. By the way, this was posted apparently by Krishani on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, which I should be, I suppose, follow her. Why the hell not?
You need a gun? Remember, when you call the police, you're calling a gun.
Yep.
What is the issue that has happened where a gun is required? Nothing. You're just being a Karen, okay? But more and more anti-Karens are emerging, ladies and gentlemen.
Hell yeah.
The lady was having absolutely none of it. Well played. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
I don't want to interrupt Sharon because the only other clip of her I've had on the show, she knocked out of the park. And I kept interrupting at the worst time. So I'm going to let her go unbroken. I do want to say, and we'll talk about this a little bit more at the end. I'll read some comments and maybe we'll talk about this. But here's my answer, by the way, for that. One of the biggest tragedies of the George Floyd era protests, of which, by the way, I risked my career to participate in. And by the way, you should know this, it might have been unethical for me to participate in. I don't know. I literally didn't run it by. There's a person in a news station who you can ask, like, is this ethical? And I didn't run it by them because I was going to do it no matter what. And if I were a truly ethical man, which I strive to be, but I'm a human being, what I would have said is, fuck it. Who cares? I'll risk my pay. I'll get fired if I got to. That should have been the ethical way. But I didn't. And I did participate in those protests. Well, I wasn't reporting on them, but I was reporting. One of the biggest tragedies of them is the phrase defund the police. Not what that was trying to accomplish, but the phrase. Because it took all of that energy that a whole nation was giving and put it towards then a goal that was not only unachievable, but was so vague that there was nothing to achieve. Defund the police. What does that mean? And you have to then ask what it means and get it explained to you. And the problem is it means different things to different people. And I understand, by the way, that was just the thing that was being called for that really caught on. But here is my pitch for defund the police. Here is my pitch for what I would like to see in that vein. All that wind-up is to just say, I'm asking you to find a better way to phrase this than, some of the best political organizers that have ever lived in this country could come up with. So, just do that real quick. There should be unarmed police officers available because you should be able to call the police on someone who is just being a jerk. Not a dangerous jerk, but just a jerk. Let's take that lady that tried to cut in line, for example. Calling the police on this lady. If the operator were to, if she wasn't being filmed, that call went through, and the dispatch person was to take that, and they were to say, is she armed? Is she yada, yada, yada? And they were to establish that this is just an argument in a store. There should be an officer who has the authority that any other police officer has, and they simply have a different set of tools that they use. They are a conflict resolution specialist. And yeah, if they have to, they can put the cuffs on somebody. But you should be, like, if I run into a black guy in the street and he's an a-hole and he does something that I feel requires possibly an arrest or the intervention of the law. Let's just talk about it from a selfish white guy perspective, if that's helpful. I should be able to, there's the pain train for me getting hopefully not canceled. I should be able to call the cops on that guy without worrying that I'm going to get him effing killed over what ultimately is just an argument. Let's say he walks up to me and slaps a lemonade out of my hand and says, "Double bird to you, buddy," and then keeps on walking. That's not worth somebody getting killed over. But also, that's got to be answered. I was enjoying that crisp lemonade on a summer afternoon, and now I don't get it. Let's deal with this in a civilized manner. But I cannot call in good conscience a guy with a gun to come intimidate that guy. That's a massive overreaction. So, what I'm looking for from you, what I'd like to discuss maybe a little bit, is a way to phrase that is more efficient than somebody saying, defund the police. Again, it's not even, honestly, the more I say this, it's not even a criticism of that phrase then in the George Floyd era. Because, people were looking for a way to encapsulate a lot of things. But it's no longer a useful phrase because it doesn't call for specific action. And there is one of many, but there is one specific action that I think we should take. Let me know if you got good ideas for how we could pitch that in a short phrase. What we could call those kinds of officers that we could call for the creation of and the support of. Now, let's hear what this gal has to say.
It's so typical, Dr. Ritchie, because the Karens have a playbook. They need to revise it. They really do at this point. They start cackling, dancing crazy like the Sandman needs to drag them off stage. And then they start howling at the moon. And as soon as you call them a junkyard dog, oh my goodness, you've offended them and you're in the wrong and they did everything right. It's pitiful at this point. And yes, she got the right one today.
Yeah, I thought it was well played.
I have done that poor lady dirty twice now on this show. I will find a lengthy clip of her talking about something and playing it just because I feel bad that that's now twice that she has been on the show and barely been featured. To be fair, I've mostly seen her in support roles on these shows, just commentating. Catherine Wolf says, indeed, the warrior mentality is not always needed. Very rarely, I'm sure. Yeah. And there, when there's a fender bender or something like that, and the people involved need a resolution, they do require that. But there's no, it doesn't have to be physical. Wireless Mike says, police should be trained to de-escalate first, always, anyway. Sadly, that's just not the case now. They are trained to de-escalate. That's a major part of, at least, forgive my Michigan centric outlook, but I've spent a lot of time here in Michigan. That is the training they receive, and it's unfortunately overridden by the training they later receive. Which is that everybody's going to kill you all the time. Remember that clip that dang dad did that we played on here? That training overrides it pretty quickly. Mars Falcon says, some folks just want to make lemons out of lemonade. Well done. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Demanding civility after the tables turn, says Mars Falcon. Classic Chuddism, 100%. Patrick Kibido says, Sharon hosts the show regularly. Yeah, she does. I just the clips I end up using. I swear I don't have it out for Sharon. I never happen to feature her, and that's my bad. Well, we'll adjust that in the future for sure, because I do like her. Like when I hear her, it's usually on like a day when I'm recovering from a lengthy stream the day before. I'm like, I'm sure I'll come across this again later. It never happens. Y'all, I'm a big fan of Friday Peace Talks. I'm delighted that the sheet works. We can use that. And I really hope that we can get some folks that disagree vehemently with me and you in this chat suggesting clips. Invite someone for next week. Let's make that a goal for next week. Next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll put the correct time zones all across in a post on the community tab later. Invite some folks. Help me out. Get some folks here that will disagree with me. And be their sponsor. Bring them in. Introduce them even. Say, hey, we're joined by whatever. Or just ask them to say hi. Because I very much want, as fun as this was, and we might, Salty Saturday might just be this, but we agree that we're going to be batches about it, But I really want, on Friday Peace Talks, to have people that disagree with all of us here. There is no better way to make peace than to understand each other. And as always, if I'm wrong, I want to know about it. If I'm doing you dirty by telling you something incorrect, I really want to know about it. So, find somebody. This is what I task you with doing, and I'm going to do it too. In fact, I know a guy that I might just invite on. Specifically, like as it's like to co-host the show with me for one day, or at least do a talk with me for one day. There's a YouTube channel pretty much in my weight class with subscribers, so I don't feel like I'm going to be pulling them away from whatever to talk about it. Big time Trump supporter. I'm going to invite them onto the stream. Maybe they'll say yes, maybe they won't, but you have my word, I will send the invitation tonight. Well, tomorrow morning, because I got like 12 more minutes left in tonight. But I will send the invitation. You guys, try to find somebody that disagrees, generally speaking, with us. Invite them to the peace talks. And we'll talk about a piece that they want to talk about. In the meantime, I have a beverage to finish. I hope you all enjoyed the peace talks this time around. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. I had a blast hanging out with you today. My name's Jake.